She appeared charming, doting, and supportive, but behind the friendly facade lurked a manipulative force determined to control every aspect of her son's life. When her new daughter in law entered the picture, the perfect image of the mother in law shattered. What started as subtle jabs and suspicious interference soon spiraled into a chilling tale of obsession, lies, and devastating consequences that no one could have predicted. When Sarah married Liam, she believed she was stepping into her happily ever after. The two had met through mutual friends and quickly built a connection that felt unshakable. Liam was everything Sarah had ever wanted: kind, thoughtful, and devoted. However, their relationship came with an unforeseen complication: Liam's mother, Evelyn. At first, Evelyn seemed like the quintessential caring mother. She showered Sarah with gifts, offered unsolicited but seemingly helpful advice, and constantly reminded her how much Liam meant to her. But beneath the surface of these gestures, there was a disconcerting edge to her behavior that Sarah couldn't ignore. Evelyn had a way of inserting herself into their lives, from showing up unannounced at their home to calling Liam multiple times a day to check in. At first, Sarah chalked it up to a mother being protective, especially since Liam was her only child. But as time went on, Evelyn's actions became more intrusive. She criticized Sarah's cooking, subtly undermined her decisions, and often reminisced about how she and Liam had their own special traditions. Sarah began to feel like she was living in Evelyn's shadow. But every attempt to establish boundaries was met with tears, guilt trips, and accusations of Sarah trying to alienate Liam from his family. Things escalated after Sarah and Liam announced they were expecting their first child. Evelyn's excitement quickly turned into overbearing control. She began offering unsolicited opinions about the nursery design, constantly comparing Sarah's pregnancy experience to her own, and even suggested names for the baby, dismissing every choice Sarah and Liam made as unworthy of her grandchild. Evelyn's behavior became a point of tension in the marriage, and Liam, caught between his wife and his mother, struggled to mediate the situation. One night, after a particularly heated argument between Sarah and Evelyn, Sarah began to sense there was something deeper at play. Evelyn's words weren't just rooted in overprotectiveness. They carried an unsettling tone of ownership over Liam and the life Sarah was trying to build with him. Little did Sarah know, Evelyn's actions were only the beginning of a sinister plot that would unravel their lives in ways she couldn't imagine. For Evelyn, losing control wasn't an option, and she was willing to go to terrifying lengths to ensure things went her way. As Sarah's pregnancy progressed, Evelyn's interference grew more intense. She began making uninvited visits to their home nearly every day, often letting herself in with the spare key Liam had given her before their marriage. Sarah found herself walking on eggshells, trying to avoid conflict, but Evelyn seemed to relish finding fault with every decision Sarah made. Whether it was the color of the nursery walls, the choice of baby furniture, or Sarah's preference for a natural birth plan, Evelyn had strong opinions and wasn't shy about voicing them. Her criticisms were often veiled in concern, but they stung nonetheless. What disturbed Sarah most was how Evelyn seemed to be driving a wedge between her and Liam. Whenever Sarah expressed her frustrations, Liam would defend his mother, urging Sarah to be patient and understanding. "She's just excited," he'd say, dismissing the mounting tension. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that Evelyn's excitement was less about the baby and more about maintaining control. Evelyn began speaking as if the child were her own, making comments about how she'd teach the baby to walk, choose their outfits, and even how she planned to take the baby for overnight stays to give you two a break. While her tone was cheerful, the underlying implication was clear. Evelyn intended to be deeply involved, whether Sarah liked it or not. The breaking point came when Sarah discovered that Evelyn had gone behind her back to speak with their doctor. Posing as a concerned family member, Evelyn had called to inquire about Sarah's health and the baby's progress. When Sarah confronted her, Evelyn didn't deny it. Instead, she claimed she was just looking out for her grandchild, accusing Sarah of being overly sensitive and ungrateful. Furious and hurt, Sarah demanded that Liam intervene, but his response only deepened the divide. "You know how she is," he said, shrugging it off. "She means well." Feeling isolated and unsupported, Sarah began confiding in her closest friend, Emily, who encouraged her to set firm boundaries. But every attempt to push back against Evelyn was met with passive aggressive retaliation. Evelyn began spreading subtle rumors among family members, painting Sarah as controlling and distant. Sarah felt trapped, her frustration growing as she realized that Evelyn was not just difficult. She was manipulative, calculating, and determined to maintain her dominance in their lives at any cost. As the due date drew closer, Sarah became increasingly anxious about Evelyn's growing presence. The baby shower, which Sarah had hoped would be a joyful occasion, turned into another point of contention. Despite Sarah's wishes for a small, intimate gathering, Evelyn took it upon herself to organize the entire event, inviting distant relatives and friends Sarah had never even met. When Sarah protested, Evelyn dismissed her concerns, insisting, "This is my first grandchild. It should be celebrated properly." On the day of the shower, Sarah felt more like a guest than the guest of honor, as Evelyn took center stage, boasting about how she would help raise the baby and ensure they were raised right. After the shower, Sarah's stress levels reached an all-time high. Her sleep was restless, filled with vivid nightmares of losing control over her own life. She confided in Emily, who suggested that Sarah and Liam move to a different city after the baby's birth to put distance between themselves and Evelyn. The idea offered a glimmer of hope, but Sarah knew Liam would never agree. He remained blind to his mother's manipulations, still viewing her actions as harmless overprotectiveness. When Sarah tentatively brought up the idea of moving, Liam became defensive, accusing her of trying to cut him off from his family. The argument left Sarah feeling more isolated than ever. Evelyn's behavior became even more alarming when she started showing up with baby items Sarah had explicitly said she didn't want. From outdated cribs to formula brands Sarah hadn't planned to use, Evelyn acted as if her preferences overrode Sarah's decisions. What troubled Sarah most was the sense that Evelyn was preparing to play a far larger role in the baby's life than she was comfortable with. It wasn't just about gifts or advice anymore. It felt like Evelyn was slowly encroaching on Sarah's role as a mother. The final straw came when Sarah discovered that Evelyn had set up a fully decorated nursery in her own home, complete with a crib, changing table, and shelves stocked with baby supplies. When Sarah confronted her, Evelyn smiled sweetly and said, "It's just in case you need a break, dear. You'll thank me later." But the look in Evelyn's eyes told Sarah otherwise. This wasn't about helping. It was about control. Sarah began to wonder just how far Evelyn was willing to go to get what she wanted, and the thought filled her with dread. The tension reached a breaking point shortly after Sarah gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, whom they named Lily. For Sarah, holding her daughter for the first time was a deeply emotional and transformative experience, but her joy was quickly overshadowed by Evelyn's overbearing presence. Evelyn showed up at the hospital just hours after the delivery, uninvited and unannounced. She immediately began taking pictures of the baby, posting them on social media with captions like, "Meet my little angel. I'm already the proudest grandmother." Sarah, exhausted and still recovering, felt violated but was too drained to protest. Liam, ever the peacemaker, insisted that Evelyn meant no harm, leaving Sarah feeling abandoned in her moment of vulnerability. When they brought Lily home, Evelyn's interference escalated to an unsettling level. She insisted on staying with them to help, despite Sarah's clear discomfort. Evelyn took over tasks like feeding and bathing, often pushing Sarah aside under the guise of showing her how it's done. Sarah felt like a stranger in her own home, watching helplessly as Evelyn dominated every aspect of Lily's care. Even when Sarah tried to assert herself, Evelyn always had a way of turning the tables, making Sarah feel like she was being ungrateful or overly sensitive. One night, Sarah woke up to find Evelyn in the nursery, rocking Lily back to sleep. At first, it seemed innocent, but Sarah couldn't shake the eerie feeling that Evelyn was deliberately undermining her bond with the baby. The breaking point came when Evelyn made a comment that chilled Sarah to the core. "You're lucky Lily has me. You're still so new at this. It's a good thing she has someone who knows what they're doing." It wasn't just the words, but the way Evelyn said them, with a quiet smugness that left Sarah furious and shaken. Feeling increasingly desperate, Sarah began documenting Evelyn's behavior, taking notes and keeping a private record of every overstep and confrontation. She also reached out to a family therapist for advice, hoping to find a way to make Liam see the situation for what it was. But Evelyn wasn't just manipulative, she was cunning. She continued to play the doting grandmother in front of Liam, ensuring he remained blind to her true intentions. Sarah realized that if she didn't take drastic action soon, Evelyn's hold on their lives would only tighten, and the consequences could be far worse than she ever imagined. Sarah reached her breaking point when she discovered that Evelyn had made a secret doctor's appointment for Lily, claiming it was for her own good. Evelyn had noticed a minor rash on Lily's arm, and instead of informing Sarah or Liam, she had taken it upon herself to consult a pediatrician without their knowledge. When Sarah confronted Evelyn, her mother-in-law was unapologetic. "You were too busy to notice," Evelyn said coldly. "Someone has to step up and make sure Lily is properly cared for." The audacity of Evelyn's actions left Sarah furious and terrified. This was no longer a case of meddling. Evelyn was actively taking over decisions that weren't hers to make. Feeling like she was losing control, Sarah made the difficult decision to issue an ultimatum. That night, she sat Liam down and poured her heart out. She told him about the secret doctor's visit, the unrelenting criticism, and the nursery Evelyn had set up in her home. She begged him to see the damage his mother's behavior was causing to their marriage and their new family. "If you don't set boundaries with her now, Liam, I'm afraid of what she'll do next," Sarah said, her voice trembling with frustration and fear. But Liam, torn between loyalty to his mother and his commitment to Sarah, still hesitated. He pleaded for more time, hoping to smooth things over without confrontation. Sarah realized then that she couldn't rely on Liam to stand up to Evelyn. She had to take matters into her own hands. The next morning, Sarah contacted a family law attorney to discuss her options. She also reached out to her parents, who offered her unwavering support and a safe place to stay if things escalated further. When Evelyn found out Sarah was taking legal steps to protect herself and Lily, her mask of charm finally slipped. In a chilling confrontation, she warned Sarah, "You'll regret this. No one takes my family away from me." But Sarah stood firm, her maternal instincts stronger than Evelyn's threats. Over the next few weeks, Sarah methodically cut Evelyn out of their lives, blocking her calls, changing the locks on their home, and documenting every interaction for her attorney. The final blow came when Liam, finally seeing the destruction his mother had caused, chose to support Sarah. Together, they moved to another city, far from Evelyn's grasp. While the journey to rebuild their lives wasn't easy, Sarah finally felt a sense of peace, knowing she had protected her daughter from the toxic influence that could have destroyed them. Evelyn's reign of control was over, and for the first time, Sarah was free to be the mother she always wanted to be.